when speaking with an investor who wants to be ahead of the market, number one, there's you can let your investors know, right, that we have an office, we have one of the largest single offices or the largest single office in Solano County. And that we always announce, all of our agents are in communication. In fact, we've got a publication that we can go look at for coming soon listings that aren't yet on the market. So we can talk to people ahead of time. So that's one option. The other option is that we can right, market if he's got specific areas, neighborhoods, house age, style, whatever that he's looking for. We can get off market properties to see if we can get somebody who would be interested in selling. Right. We also have the ability, as you saw, right, like what Greg's doing, that you have the ability, picture go away, to go on to Barry's, right, and see the notice of trustee sales, right? So those that have recorded, that are in default and have recorded sale dates, that you can get that information.
Why do you want trustee sales?
Those are, you know, like when in the movies where you talk about you can go buy a property on the courthouse steps. That's what that is. That's the trustee sale. That's somebody is foreclosing on the property. And people can actually truly, I know somebody that's done it, pick them up at the sale for usually less than market value, because the trustee just truly wants their money back. They don't care about it.
But those you have to be careful with, right? Because there's always stuff that's attached, sometimes like taxes, liens, and etc.
There could be liens and stuff attached to it. Yep.
But so those are mostly, did I say that word incorrectly?
I love how you use school words. I just love it because it brings me back to go. Oh,
no, because I try to say them because it'll make you think about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It helps.
But I was just thinking, I forgot my train of thought with that. But that's okay.
You said encumbrances.
Yeah, I was just wondering about because it's a not auction, but it's a trustee sale. So you don't get the same inspections or
there's no inspections. You're not going through the title company. You're just purchasing the property. It's being transferred to you. So for the most part, you don't get a warranty. For the most part, whatever's on that title is going to be paid off at part of that trustee sale. So if there's delinquent taxes recorded, if things like that are going to be paid, but there's things that might not be on that title at that point, and they're not doing a title search and stuff. And so you just have to be careful. And most investors have funds available and they know what they're walking into when they talk, trustee sales. So it's not a huge deal. So it's worth checking out. That
most people that are lenders or mortgage companies that the client owe money to, they'll be attached to that home, right? So most of the trusted, that court will pay them off right away most of the time. So hopefully, I'm just assuming that hopefully everything gets paid off if you're buying a house like that, right?
If not,
you just gotta worry about title.
Yeah, you can look up what's on there and see for the most part. But so there's options for investors, right? So it's not just, hey, you get what's on the market. We have some other venues and methods to be able to look at that.
Okay, so that's good. And then asking him, like, what are his goals? Is it like, are you willing to do upgrades or
right? So for an investor, you want to know what their what their goals are long-term and what kind of investments they're looking for. Are they wanting to hold or are they wanting to flip? Kind of are they picking up rentals? That would be a hold, just so everybody knows. When we talk about like holdings, those would be rentals. Or you got flip, which are like, hey, we want to rehab things and turn around and sell them, right? There's also some investors are what's called a wholesaler, which is where they secure a contract on a property and then they have other people that they assign that contract to, and they get a fund for doing so. So, right, like maybe the house is worth $500,000, they secured the contract at $450,000. They're going to turn around and sell that contract for $480,000 or $500,000 to somebody else. So they're going to get the purchase price of the sellers will get the $450,000 and the wholesaler will get the difference between that $450,000 and whatever they've assigned that contract to. So people make money doing that.
My head just exploded. I'm just like,
I want this. So I'm like I need to get prepared.
But that's a great question. I'm gonna use that question. So you're saying for investor, because mine, the guy that I know that wants to invest, he's just like, the only way you can help me out is I want condos in this place, but I have to have a general, the next time we've been talking. And so I have to have that general conversation to ask that same question, like, what are your goals for the year? As far as your property, that was kind of your question, right? What goals do you have?
Yeah, and
for the year
he
going
may not
forward?
be like, hey, I don't have a goal for this year. Like if all these units come up for sale this year, I've got the funds available to purchase them all and own the entire complex versus like, hey,
Yeah.
I want to pick up 2 more this year, whether it's in this complex or another one,
I
right?
just
So
want
getting
to
to the
open up
base, yep.
that dialogue with him to alert him that I'm willing and I'm, just my efforts, like, hey, whatever you need, I'm willing to find out what I need to do to help you.
So yeah, for an investor, you want to know what their goals are. You want to
Yeah,
know what
nice.
type of investing they are wanting to do. If they're like thinking hold, you want to ask like, what, are they financing part of it? Is it cash flow? Like, are they, are they going to pay cash for it? What are they wanting that spread to be between their investment and like what they're making on a monthly basis and rent? Like what makes it worth it to them? Or is it just they want to buy houses that over the next 5 years are going to gain value and they're going to pay cash? So they're just going to, it doesn't necessarily matter what the rents are. Where some people may be like, yeah, I'm going to finance, 80% of it. And I want the rent to be able to cover that portion of the mortgage, right? So we just want to make sure what their intentions are when they go in. And are they looking for single family residences? Do they want multi-unit properties? What kind of properties are they looking for?
Yeah.
How lucky these guys get at those trustee sales. That sounds so inspired. Like, man, you go there and get a good deal.
You don't hear about it very often,
Mhm.
but it does happen. I had somebody call me one time and ask me about a property that was in foreclosure in Winters. And so I said, it's actually got a trustee sale date and here's the location and here's the date. And because they're like, we'd like to pick it up and we're curious, like what's going on. And I was like, so until it goes, like, there's nothing I can do with it at this point until it goes through the trustee sale and then ends up in the bank's hands. And then we can try to track it down again. I said, unless you can secure it at the trustee sale. So then I called, they're like, oh, maybe we'll try to do that. So I actually called to follow up and they did purchase the property at the trustee sale.
Nice.
But that doesn't involve us.
That doesn't involve us, but it would be a good idea. So for an investor, if it's somebody that's going to flip properties,
right,
picking them up at a trustee sale where you're going to get the sale
Sale.
portion. So if you're keeping them updated of the properties in the area and the sale dates, then you're going to get the other end
So
of that.
that's your value piece to it then.
Yeah.
Just lining them up and giving them
that service.
Yeah. And then that's really one you'd have to keep it, follow with and keep in touch with.
Other questions, Heather?
Oh, I was just gonna ask about, because I know you were gonna go over this. I know I asked, but about because I want to go start door knocking that neighborhood. And I think that I need to go before I wait for you to give ideas. So I was just thinking like my initial thing to go over there with my, my equity information, my postcard, right? To go over there. Am I just kind of being like, hi, just walk in the neighborhood? Is that like the first initial thing? Like I'm just walking the neighborhood, giving it like I did in Fairfield, or was that the wrong way to go about it to introduce myself?
Your intention with this neighborhood, is it going to be your long-term farm?
Yeah, I want to go there every 3 weeks, which that's what I'm trying to plan out. Like, what am I going to do every 3 weeks?
So I would almost say the first visit is just introducing.
Oh,
and there's an introduction letter in the PC Peeps folder. You're welcome to take that and use it or change it up a little bit. But it's just, hey, I'm Heather. I work with KW Vaca Valley here, local to the area. Not only am I local and the neighborhood expert, but I am your neighbor. Like I literally live around the corner. So I know what's going on in this neighborhood. I'm driving through here all the time. I am Browns Valley, right?
Okay.
If I can be of any, I'm going to keep you updated on a regular basis of what's going on in this neighborhood, in this market. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, right? That's just your first one, is really just introducing yourself, especially since you're like, hey, I'm going to come back in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, right? And then the next one, I would say introduce the equity analysis.
I wrote that
Man, I just printed all those.
Well, you can go ahead and use it. I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
be late.
yeah.
Or I can just come back in 2 weeks.
Or
Just come back
do,
next week.
yeah.
Just
But
come
you,
first
can I
and then,
interject? Does that mean you have to do an equity analysis because the equity analysis is specific, right?
She just did a broad one for the neighborhood and with the option to narrow it down for their specific property.
With the option to narrow it down to this. That's what I had to kind of have that question because I'm like, dang, if you do an equity analysis, you got to do it for each one, but you're saying you can do it.
that's what I did. So I took all the actives under contract and sold. This is in Fairfield.
And
And then
then,
you average it and then tell them if they want their own free one. That's what I did.
got you. So you could do an equity analysis for a whole neighborhood, not just for specific, and just give an average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did that through
I used Larry's to pull the things and then I did the math in my head or on the calculator.
That's cool.
And you
Okay.
can
And
pull
like
it.
Heather says, use both sides. So I
Yeah.
put some information over there.
Nice. I
Reading
like that
material.
idea because as you know, or you guys have been seeing me, I'm like excited about this farming. I know it's gonna cost me some money, but I'm gonna focus on it. I'm gonna focus on farming. So I need to come up with some ideas.
Yeah,
I'm
like
just
that.
trying to think of things like, if I'm going every 3 weeks, what am I gonna, like, is it every other one? I'm gonna go, hey, here's your equity again. Like, this is the difference
I
from
would-
when I came before. You
Yeah,
know
I
what
probably
mean?
like one. So, okay. So, and number, before I move on to that, the
Yeah.
equity analysis stuff you can pull from Barry's. If you look at, we did a training on trends and stats. If you pull that
Trends
up,
and
it'll
stats.
show you how to pull it in a specific neighborhood and get the averages and
Okay,
everything.
trends and stats is
Yeah.
training.
Yeah, has something to do with that. I don't know if that's the exact title, but it has that in it. The farming, right? So my theory on farming, and I'm not going to say that this is the end all catch all, this is the
Yeah,
perfect way to do it, but I would start once you're opening your farm with like an intro, right? Like,
Mhm.
here's who I am, I'm the area expert. I'm going to be keeping you updated of what's going on in the market and specifically this neighborhood with consistency.
Mhm.
If you need anything, reach out, right? And then I would say probably your equity analysis once a quarter.
Mm,
Right?
okay.
So the goal with a farm, it's not just, hey,
Yeah.
I'm sprinkling water on something to make it grow. That's not the kind of farm we're talking about. Although it does, that's for years. I thought that's what a farm meant, was that
Mhm.
you're going to go, sprinkle water on all these houses, not literally sprinkle water,
Yeah,
but,
yeah,
drip on
yeah,
them and
yeah.
touch them and make contact. And then eventually it'll grow into transactions. So
Mhm.
that works too. But what it really stands for, and this is not a Keller Williams thing, is
Uh-huh.
the frequent area of repetitive marketing farm. Frequent area of repetitive marketing, right? The goal with a farm is to be consistent. It's all about consistency.
Mhm.
Your rate of return,
Frequent area
of repetitive
repetitive.
marketing, FARM. A farm, when you start doing a farm, it's a little different than like walking into an open house, right?
Mhm.
With walking into an open house, you're going to assume that one of those people you're going to secure as a client and you're going to start showing them properties or list their home in the next 30 days. Okay. That's with a farm, it's nurturing, it's building that relationship.
Mhm.
It's going to take a little bit longer on your return of time investment.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it might take a little while to get some return on that.
Right.
Not to say it has to, but just generally speaking, that's what they say, especially for any significant market share.
Yeah.
It's going to take a couple of years to build significant market share in that neighborhood. That's why we talk about those turnover rates that we talked about yesterday too, and those being kind of important.
Mhm.
And my stance on that, which is they're kind of important, not super important. But you want to be consistent and you want to be repetitive.
Right.
Whether that is, some people do farming just with all mailers, mailer. It's going to take longer with mailers than it is door knocking because you're not building that face-to-face relationship, right? It's harder to build relationship with paper than it is face-to-face. But there are agents that have made built their business on farming, specifically sending mailers to those areas.
Mm.
Okay. It's more expensive to do it that way. It's less labor intensive.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay. I highly recommend, if you're going to farm, that you make it your mission to walk that neighborhood once a month, especially at the beginning. Right? You want to be knocking on those doors, dropping stuff off on their doorsteps if they're not there, and handing them something. I would recommend month one, you're doing, and you could do it more than once a month. You could make it every 3 weeks. It just makes it a little harder to track that way. But if you had like, I don't know, 120 houses, then you could really do 40 a week, right? Which isn't going to be super time consuming, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours max per week. And you're just rotating this 40 houses, the next week, the next 40 houses. And then we start back over the next week, right? And then we just keep repeating. And then at some point when you've been consistent in that, now it might be time to add another 40 houses. And now maybe we're visiting every 4 weeks, or maybe now instead of 40 houses, we're knocking out, maybe we add 30 houses and we're knocking out 50 houses a week, right? And we've changed it up a little bit so that we're still consistently touching those people. So that's the goal, is consistency. I would start with the first one, like an intro letter. I like the equity analysis one, and I would probably roll out that equity analysis like once a quarter. And if you systematize it and plan it, then it makes it a little easier. Maybe you do a recipe once a quarter, right? Some sort of seasonal fun recipe to share. Maybe once a quarter you give them like, hey, here's what's coming up over the next quarter, right? The next 3 months, here are some activities that are coming up in that specific area or in Vacaville.
That's good, because this area has a lot of, the area I'm doing, it has a lot of city council people, police, I know live there, like there's people who are at Genentech who I know. So I think that's good too.
So keeping people up to date, right? And then just be consistent and let them know. And with all of those, equity analysis, here's what's coming up, a recipe, probably on the back or whatever. Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I would probably keep them up to date of what's sold in the neighborhood or what's coming soon or what's on the market, right? With all of those, just so they know, because people are wondering and looking and they're wanting to know what somebody sold for. So just keep them updated, right? Use both sides of the paper. So you just want to bring value and you want to have conversation starters, right? That's our goal. Like, I never want to show up to somebody's door and knock on their door and just be like, I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that's my drunk monkey on my shoulders being like, you should bring something. So I always like to have something, a postcard, something to hand them that has value to them. Like, hey, here's a really cool recipe, that I thought you might enjoy, or here's all the events coming up in Vacaville over the summer that you can, go do the Creek Walk series, the whatever Fiesta Days is finally back, whatever is coming up, if anything's ever coming up again. So
I just thought
the new restaurants that opened in town, right? Like, highlight those things. In fact, go to those restaurants and be like, hey, I know you're new, trying to get clientele. I've got a market of 150 homes that I visit on a monthly basis. I would like to make them aware of you. Would you be willing, like if they brought in the postcard, to give them a 10% discount on their meal or whatever to help drive new business, right? Partner with those businesses, go in and talk to them, and then create a community page for your farm and share that business information, or do a Facebook Live interview with that business, partner with them, and then ask them to leave your cards behind, or if they know anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest, to share your information.
That's good.
Business to business relationships.
I was thinking when you were talking to, like, filling both sides of the paper, to every month, I just thought as you were talking, on the back side, I can put, because on Instagram, I post the monthly maintenance, how to keep your home up and value up. So I can just literally copy and paste that on the back. And
absolutely.
Here's your monthly, on the back is your monthly
maintenance.
Be my thing. On the back is your monthly maintenance thing.
Perfect. One thing that we talked about that I don't think was ever executed by another person in the PC program back in the day was, he had this idea that he was going to partner with local businesses. And I thought this was a great idea. We kind of expounded on it a little bit. He was going to partner with local businesses to get like a discount or whatever.
Oh, I went and talked to a couple people about that.
And then do like a card. Right. With your information on one side, that business information on the back side, and make it like something reusable. Like, hey, Hank and Hazel's through the month of April, if anybody brings in this card, they save $1 on their sandwich, right? Through the whole month. And that way it's something people are going to keep with them. They're going to stick in their pocket, and then make it a new restaurant every month, right? So that you're constantly like, hey, here's your discount for them. Here's your business partnership or whatever for the month of April and May and June, and have those set up ahead of time. Because then you're working with the local businesses, and maybe you're even splitting the cost of printing the cards, right? You're doing all the legwork and dropping them off. But maybe that business would even split the cost of the cards. It's not going to be super expensive. I mean, even if you had a farm of 400 people, like it just doesn't cost a whole lot to print 400 like business card type size.
Yeah, that's good.
And then it's something of value that somebody's going to keep with them, right? So just some fun things like that.
That's good. Okay, that's
Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's good. 'Cause that's a lot. I was also thinking like, I was thinking about it last night, talking to my friend about it actually, because she's like one of my cheerleaders. She's the one who gave me one of my referrals already. But I was telling her like, it's hard because, you know, some people don't celebrate some holidays and you want to give things, but and then I'm like, do I stay true to who I am, or do, like you were saying yesterday, and then that what you said to me yesterday about stay true to who you are, Heather, don't change your clothes or whatever for other people, you know, and that really hit me because I'm like, yeah, like I celebrate this or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna, I'm sorry if you don't, I'll take it with me or whatever,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But this is who I am.
You know what, too, like on that note, and I know people have different opinions on this, but if somebody came up to me and was like, hey, Amy, happy Hanukkah, I'd be like, cool, Merry
Yeah.
Christmas. Like that doesn't offend me
Right,
that you celebrate. I don't know why people get all bent out of shape. It's like,
about it.
you can be you, I can be me, and we
Yeah.
can celebrate together and be happy, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't hesitate to like take something
Yeah.
around that said Happy Easter.
Yeah.
Because even people that don't celebrate, I don't know, those
Wow.
you probably don't want to work with them anyways.
Yeah.
If that's what you do,
That's
right?
right.
If that's who you are,
Right.
Gotcha, you're right. And
right?
you don't think about it like that.
It's called market stats and berries
Market stats,
on the recording.
Anybody on Zoom have questions or thoughts?
market
On
stats.
the, hold that thought.
990.
No, 90.
90. Okay, 90.
Market.
All right. Anybody? Anastasia's taking another phone
She's
call.
taking a call.
Anybody?
Well, hey, Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the idea of partner with another business and then put your information on the back of the card, so you know they can get discount. I really like that idea.
Yeah. Right. We just I want to have
Yeah.
something to hand somebody that's got some value to it, something cool, something fun. And why not partner with businesses, local businesses in town that then you can expect referrals from?
Yeah, definitely.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
But it's not quite related to this. It's more-
How dare you, Sam?
I know. It has to do with once you sell a property, usually when you list a property, you advertise it all over the place. What are you allowed to legally advertise when you represent the buyer?
You can
Good.
you can advertise the property is sold.
Okay, and can we use the same picture that they have?
Ooh.
When you start talking pictures, it starts getting a little iffy. I would go by and snap a picture of the house just to be safe. Or even, better yet, like get a picture of your buyers holding the sold sign and then, promote that one. But if your buyers don't want to be in the picture, it's not a big deal. Just I would snap a picture of the house. I wouldn't reuse somebody else's photos because you don't own the right to those photos and you can get in trouble doing that.
And just say like represented the buyer, sold, done.
Yep. And you don't even have to say represented the buyer. You could just be like sold.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the sales
Thank
price.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, if you did represent the buyer, it would probably help your case, whether you represent the seller or buyer, to focus on something specific to that transaction. So let's say you represented the buyer and you got the property below list price, right? You could say that in your advertising.
That's not a slap in the face to the listing agent.
Does it matter? Are they going to get a postcard?
No.
Sorry.
Well, if you put it on like Instagram or Facebook.
Well, that's okay. You're not necessarily worried about if that agent gets their feelings hurt because they, sold a house below contract price. That's on them, not you. But as
Oh,
far
that
as
guy does that.
as
That
far
guy
as
does that.
helping you get, like, you're trying to get more business with
Yeah,
that post. And so
yeah.
you want to point out something that went positively, right?
Right. that's
So, hey,
good.
we, even in this market, we got it at or below market value, right?
Yeah.
Or at or below list price. Or, we closed in 21 days, right? So just
Yes.
highlight something that's
That's good.
positive about that transaction more than just sold. Like, why would somebody choose you in their transaction? Right.
Mhm.
And you don't have to. I'm just saying it might be in your best interest to do so, that it might help you, highlight something.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Hey, Sam, I have a
Yes.
question for you.
Go down.
Did your property close yesterday?
Yes.
It funded this morning. Yes. It's
You
supposed to
okay?
record today.
Emily's clapping for you out in the lobby too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was. We did
Congratulations.
it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Not over until it records.
It is not over until it records. I won't tell you the phone call I got yesterday from the lender. So it doesn't happen until it records.
Oh my God.
Okay, now you must share.
Yeah, right?
Okay. So the lender calls me. This is for everyone. This is really actually important. Lenders right before you close will call for your employment.
Uh-huh.
And if you are not employed, you will not get the loan. So I guess one of my buyers was on a con, and they actually hired him, but the last paycheck was from the contractor or however he was being paid. So they're like, oh no, he had his last paycheck. So the lender calls me and says, so your buyer already had his last paycheck. We're trying to verify that he's working for the actual company that he now, works for. And
Yeah.
so they figured it out.
Nice.
Oh my
Did your
God.
heart
He's all,
sink?
don't freak out. Oh no, I'm not freaking
No,
out.
I'm freaking out.
That's funny.
I'm just having an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
No problem.
You're like, I'm so far beyond freak out with this
Yeah.
transaction. That's all right.
But yes, we funded this morning and we're recording today.
Fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam,
Yes.
this agent is from another office. Sorry if I shouldn't be saying this, but he always posts about how he gets his buyers under price. Like, you should look at some of his stuff. Maybe it'll help you. He's funny. He's a character. Like, he does funny stuff, but it doesn't come across bad as to me.
No, I don't
Like,
think it would.
so like looking at other people's, there was another gal too that put stuff like sold, like under list price, you want good negotiations. I think she's a Keller Williams. Her name is Myrna or something like that. I saw her on one of the things and I follow her, but she does it really classy and nice.
Yeah. You want to
But-
get classy, nice, and the right
Yeah.
opposite for
And
listings.
she doesn't put a picture of the house. She has like a nice picture, like one of our things, like something behind it, like that, like where you can't really tell.
Oh,
what-
can't really
you
tell.
can't
Like
really
a blurred
tell
out
what it is.
photo type
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a blurred out photo or like a park or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She does something like that and it's like sold and then,
Cool.
so
Okay.
maybe some ideas you can get off of there.
You don't put the address, do you? No,
I wouldn't.
private. Okay.
I mean, it's not private, it's public
People do
information,
put
but I
or
wouldn't.
put like Northgate or
Yeah, you can put like
Southgate or
the
Creekside or
the
something area
neighborhood.
or something. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
Thank
know where I
you.
got those areas.
You're good. I think they're rural areas.
Oh, okay.
Maybe in Sacramento, but
I know. I'm like San Francisco.
Thank you. Thank you.
Roller
Yep.
skates rolling off my lips. I like it.
Okay,
You're an inspiration to me, Sam.
Congratulations.
Oh,
sorry about the
I don't
phone
know
call.
about you. You don't want this, but I'm lucky that it worked out.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't want to say VA.
Amy, on the group me, I
Yes.
put on there for a 1031 exchange. If people are interested, it goes into really in-depth detail on the 1031 exchange if us new people are interested.
Thank you.
um,
I said I was asking about that.
I forgot what I was gonna say. That phone call distracted me. Okay. But that, I guess that's it. Bye.
I'm on a phone call. Bye. That's good. Thank you, Anastasia. There was a lady that came into the open house on yours on Stonegate at wanted to ask about that, and I was just like, school, like Nate was saying, like
Yeah.
I was trying to
So,
go,
right.
okay.
So a 1031 exchange is where you have an investor who's selling one investment to and taking the funds to put it in a similar type investment. I would get all the knowledge you right when it comes to everything. I say, hey, go learn all you can, but be careful what you share with your clients because you are not an expert in that area. So just a heads up on that. So on a 1031 exchange, even going like dates and timeframes, like they have, once they sell a property, they have 45 days to
That's what she was
identify their new
saying.
property.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't have to close in 45 days, but they have to have the new property identified and under contract. But even like those things, I would be careful saying that to somebody. Like if somebody's like, hey, how does a 1031 exchange? I would be careful with giving too much hard and fast data without just referring them to be like, yeah, you can, sell one investment property to purchase another. And there's certain timeframes that you have to adhere to and all of that. And I can connect you up with a 1031 exchange person if you would like, if you don't have one that can help facilitate that. So
When you
always
say a person, lender or a realtor?
it's a 1031 exchange guru. I don't know what their title is, but they help facilitate all the documents. Yeah, it's a attorney of some sort
Okay.
that usually facilitates that because they make sure the funds transfer from the sale into a 1031 exchange account and then back into the new property without going to the investor's
Gosh, you think
hands.
of finance, so the finance people
And-
should be familiar with that too, right? The lenders aren't.
Finance people don't facilitate them.
And what we found out yesterday, because my brother did like a little mortgage one-on-one for 4 of us yesterday. And we were talking about the 1031 exchange, and they said that you have to put it on the contract. If you
Yes,
don't
there's a
put it
form.
on the contract, then once it funds there and it's not listed on the contract that it's a 1031 exchange, that the person's going to have to pay taxes on that money.
So it doesn't actually technically have to be on the contract, but there's a special form in your car forms library that identifies that either that sale or that purchase as a 1031 exchange purchase.
Okay.
And for the other party, it really doesn't make any difference. Like if I'm the seller and Heather's the buyer, she has to sign like 1 or 2 extra pieces of paper. That's the only difference it makes to that buyer. And sometimes like on a 1031 exchange, it's like, it's the same thing as like contingent on the purchase of a replacement property. Except it's contingent on the purchase of a identifying that replacement property. So it's on that form. It talks about that, that there may be delays associated with it if that investor wants to run it that way. So it's very similar to that, but there is a special form for a 1031 exchange that you should utilize if it is going to be a 1031 exchange, either a 1031 purchase or a 1031 sell. Either way.
Yeah, that lady, she was educated. She knew what she was.
Yeah.
Morgan was like, what? I felt Morgan was like, what is that? Wait, oh, I remember that. And I was like, yeah, I remember that a little bit. And then the lady just like told us everything. Like she just
most people who do 1031 exchanges should know everything they need to know about them. We don't have to be experts, but again, it's good to have that knowledge so that you know kind of what they're talking about. I'm just saying, be careful with making any statements to somebody that they should always seek out an expert. Or something might change, or it may be different for their situation. Like theirs may actually not be an investment property that they think they can do it with. So
You can't.
well, if it's not technically, so
has
it
to be
just
it's a lot.
it's an investment property. You
It's an
can't.
investment piece, but I thought that was residential. If you have somebody residential going from state to state, or not state to state for just moving it, using a 1031, I thought the whole purpose was, I'm gonna go buy this house over here and save taxes,
It's a delay of the tax burden and it's investment properties. So I can't sell my personal residence as a 1031 exchange unless I've got a really good tax guy and attorney that all said that it's kosher to do so. But for the most part, you're going to get in trouble.
It's investment.
It's
pieces.
investment properties. It's a way to shelter the investments.
Investment pieces.
That's one person selling like a one house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
she
cool, but
said,
if you come in
she said they
prorated,
were giving her like $250,000 on top of it. I was like, dang, she's rolling. She came all the way from Florida to do that too. She was looking.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So what happens at the end if you keep rolling over the taxes over and over and over, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna cash out, then do you have anything left at like when you decide to retire, or does it get dumped somewhere else?
Yeah, so so instead of like if I purchase a home for 200,000 and it gains 200,000 in equity, and when I sell it at 400,000. Now I take that 400,000 and invest it in the next property. I don't at the end you have to pay taxes, and I don't exactly know how that works out, but it delays and reduces that burden somehow. I don't exactly know what.
Okay.
taxes paid on the over the profit made, right? On the gain.
The gain.
So if you've done it 3 times and you've gained, 500,000 off 3 sales, right? You would pay like on that 500.
It comes to the final property and what's made off of that one specifically, I think is how it rolls, but I don't know for sure on that side of it. I just know that it allows you to avoid taxes. And most investors, a lot of times they'll invest in properties for the long haul, right? So that they're planning to sit on them forever. And oftentimes after their deaths, they're just continuing to collect the rents, and they're upgrading properties to collect higher rents or whatever, or higher gains. But I don't know all the ins and outs of how it works at the end when you actually go to sell the property as far as those taxes go.
I've heard of people, it's funny because I have friends like in the military that was telling me about this before I got my license about 1031 exchange. He's like, you don't ever have to pay tax, all excited about it. But
So yeah. Any other questions for today?
Amy, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, so you said if you buy a house $200,000, and then if you sell it for $400,000, and then use the 400 to buy another house, does that apply for the single family residence, or is that only for 1031 exchange?
All right. Ask that question again. I'm sorry.
Okay, so if you like, if you buy $200,000, and then if you sell it for $400,000, so if you make like a $200,000,
Okay.
and then use the $400,000 to buy another house, does that like apply for a single family residence, or is that only for 1031 exchange?
So for a 1031 exchange, it can be anything from single family to multifamily properties, vacant land, like it all commercial properties, all fall under a 1031 exchange. You just have to exchange for like properties, and it's a way to delay your tax burden. For if it's your primary residence, then those proceeds fall under capital gains exemptions. And your capital gains exemptions on a single family residence, if I'm selling my primary residence and I'm going to buy another residence, even if I don't buy another house, maybe I'm going to sell it and pay some debts off and rent for a while. I have a capital gains exemption as a single person of $250,000 in gains, and as a married person of $500,000 in gains. So I can make off a property up to $500,000 as a married couple. Heather's making a mess in my office, or as a single person, 250,000 that you don't have to pay taxes on. And that's, you take the purchase price of the property, it's not like money that you get out of the house. It's what you purchased the property for, any major improvements that you did to the property, any fees that you incurred in the process of selling that property, all those get deducted. So like if I bought a property for 500,000 and sold it for $1 million, right? It appears as though I had a $500,000 gain, but once you take out like the real estate fees and commissions and closing costs and any improvements and updates, I probably actually only got a gain of 400,000.
Right.
Right. So you take all that out, and people get confused. You don't have to pay any taxes on it. You only pay taxes on whatever is above and beyond that. And people get confused because they forget that it was the purchase price. And oftentimes people put money down on a house and then they go to sell the house and they make the return on it. And they're looking at the cash they're getting out of the sale, which may exceed that amount, although it's not actually the sale.
It's like blowing my mind. Too much stuff, baby. Like,
Did that answer your question?
I did. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Anything else before we wrap up for today?